We have been scaling this e-commerce brand to $31,239 per day in revenue exclusively using Google and Bing ads. And in this video, I want to show you not only what it takes to get to this level, but to stay at this level as well. But before we actually dive into the actual approach and strategy, what I want to let you know is not every brand is capable of achieving scale at this level, especially when it comes to Google and Bing ads. And the main reason behind this is because Google ads and Bing ads, these are search intent based platforms. These are platforms with a cap to how much you can limit. So for instance, let's say that the average monthly search volume for your products in general for all of the keywords combined is 10,000. With Google and Bing ads, it's unfortunately not possible to scale your products beyond the 10,000 audience size to 11,000, 12,000. Why? Because that keyword search volume caps out at 10,000. And this is the biggest limitation you will have to face with your products and your brand in general with Google and Bing ads. But if you're in a niche where it's a very broad market niche or you have the ability to rank for multiple different keywords, then this is besides the point for you. It should not really negatively affect you unless you're spending tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars per day in ad spend. But with that, let's talk about this brand a bit more in detail to understand what it is. So this brand is an automotive brand in the car parts and accessories niche. So because of the niche, it does have a fairly high ticket approach and a high ticket funnel with a high average order value in general. And the brand, if we go back now all the way back to maybe 2018 to 2019, we can see that this brand has actually been in existence for not too long, roughly the last 5 years. During this last 5 years, because it started getting sales in 2020, has been very steady. And now with us working on the brand itself starting last year, we have seen a little bit of an uptick in terms of revenue. And this year is going to be just as powerful. In fact, half the year through, we're already at 5.8 million, where last year, the total year was 7.7 million. But in general, this brand has done $36 million in online revenue only. This does not count the revenue coming from their retail stores, which they do have a local retail store here in Los Angeles. But the main reason why this brand was able to scale to now over $31,000 per day in revenue, it's not because of an insanely crazy strategy that they have, or not because of some crazy funnel or offer that they're doing in terms of their product. It's rather because of the simplistic approach they have been taking from the get-go, from the foundation up. Now, what most brand owners believe is that Google at scale and Bing at scale, it comes directly from the campaign. So what do? They go inside their ad accounts, their campaign strategies, and they try to make it as fancy as possible. They'll add a lot of bells and whistles, and they'll do a bunch of things in the hopes that things turn around for the better, only to find out that what they're doing is, number one, they're overcomplicating their entire approach. Number two, they're causing a lot of overlap and causing a lot of their products to interfere with each other and not actually perform to the best of their abilities. And number three, they're slowing down their own scale as a result. But the first things you want to understand is to scale to 30K per day, it's not just by adding more budgets or doing any of these things. Rather, it's by first understanding the true intent behind your keywords. What are the keywords you're going after, and what is their true intent? Are these buying intent keywords? Are these education-based keywords? Or are these keywords which are just filler keywords which have no real value or meaning to them? And after you understand this, it's more about building a feed and funnel that aligns with that intent. It's all about taking that research approach, that research strategy, then combining with what you already have in the back end in terms of the feed, the funnel, to then give Google that holistic approach it needs to scale to the next level. And of course, this is with combining and optimizing the back end to support that scale without destroying the return on ad spend. So to kind of go in detail into all of those things, first and foremost, if we look at their ad account, what I want to show you is the overall simplistic approach we have been running for the brand. Now, we were the first ones to launch Google Ads for them in late 2023, early 2024. So these are all results that we have gotten for this brand. But essentially, this brand started out, if we go all the way back to basically start of 2024, the first few months, essentially until May of 2024, what I want to show you is just the overall approach that we had going on during this time. So at this point, because the brand was fairly new on Google, we had a lot of testing we had to go through to really find that perfect approach, that perfect strategy. But in in total, we had a bunch of different campaigns spending money during this time. If we go all the way here, look at all of these campaigns running, we can see in total there were a large majority of campaigns just wasting budgets, just about 19 to 20 different campaigns spending money doing a bunch of different things and not really providing the results we wanted. So I mean, during that time we did have some campaigns with a 5x ROAS, a 3x ROAS, a 9x ROAS, so on and so forth, but ultimately there were only a handful of campaigns which were actually providing the results that we wanted. Now, to scale to $30,000 a day up, because this brand did not just start randomly at 30,000, it had to be worked up. We had to start with the foundation with Google Ads. This always goes back to things such as your product fulfillment. Do you have high conversion rates for your landing pages because it's more of a premium approach, or is it more of a standard approach which doesn't really qualify for a high ticket approach? Meaning, if your website, you're trying to sell $5,000-$10,000 products, it should feel like a $5,000 to $10,000 website, not just a random website that took 5 seconds to build. And this applies to even those brands where your average order value is maybe $30 or $40. It should still feel like a steal for the customers, and this starts with the product foundations and the feed approach that you have. But in addition, the things we focus on during this time is things such as the Google Merchant Center health. What kind of product violations do we have? Policy violations. All these things play into the role of the quality of your entire ad accounts. And then when you combine it with the product quality itself, that's when the biggest changes and effects come into play. And that's when you can truly start to even consider scaling up to levels like these. And the number one thing this brand did right, which I really appreciate about this brand, by the way, is that they took their customer reviews very seriously. For a lot of the brands we work with, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. What a lot of these brands do is they disregard these reviews. They even try to hide it. They hire people to get rid of these bad reviews and only show the good ones. This is not, number one, ideal and morally right, but number two, what this does is it forces your brand to essentially only showcase the positive parts and not the negative parts. So you can't really improve your approach and your brand as a result. But when you have the right reviews approach, when you're looking at all of those things, and then when you combine it with the right foundational approach, that's when you really can start to aim up to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 per day in revenue. At least that's when this brand truly started scaling to the very next level. But keep in mind, foundation also means things like SMS remarketing, email remarketing, retargeting. All these things make up your foundation with Google Ads and Bing Ads, and they essentially force your brand to start scaling to the very next level when it comes to Google Ads and Bing Ads. But once we were able to combine all of these foundational things, once they really improved their business in that aspect, and we started running with one major strategy, what we found out for this brand in terms of the Google Ads approach and what has helped us stay at this level is the simplistic approach we have running at this point of time. So even though we're doing $30,000 per day in revenue in total, we only have 7 different campaigns running, and the main approach here is basically performance max and standard shopping, because we already did a lot of testing. We already found out what works and what doesn't. So the approach that we have implemented here is basically standard shopping campaigns to scale specific product collections and specific products which can be grouped together, and a little bit of a more granular approach, and then one major performance max coming at the very top for testing everything, and then eventually scaling those products which cannot really be grouped together at this point of time. And then we have a second performance max that's scaling to international countries, now running at a 17x ROAS. So this campaign is actually performing the best. Now, this also does count branded search versus non-branded traffic. So we are separating both of these out as needed and ideally focusing more on cold traffic, but there is a little bit of influence from branded traffic here as well, because what we want to do is, since it's a high ticket brand, we want to let Google's algorithm learn from the retargeting and branded traffic sales to then find more cold traffic customers. And the way we track this is going to the insights section, looking at last 20 days to ensure that majority of the sales for the keywords that we are getting is keywords that are more cold traffic focused, not just branded or retargeting traffic focused. But that's essentially the main gist of this campaign. So if we go last 20 days and scroll all the way down, and by the way, this is something you should be doing for your own brand as well, regularly doing keyword research to understand what keywords you're ranking for. But majority of these keywords are from cold traffic campaigns. But essentially, that's the main gist and how we're able to now scale to $31,000 per day in revenue profitably. If you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you want to scale to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.